just doing a little packing, I figured I would actually kind of talk about something that I was thinking about the other day, and actually that we were having a small discussion on the Whatnot channel. So we're, of course, we're talking about Final Fantasy collector boxes and just kind of how we're getting closer to the release. I think we're, what, about 4.5 weeks away now from pre-release day. And of course, all the hype is going still, all the talk about what's going to come out with it, and as far as like what's going to be released with it, serialized cards, the price, everything, and it's getting pretty crazy. So it's definitely the biggest hype set. Like, God, I can't even think of it in the longest time. Not just the fact that it's like an exciting thing that people are really interested in, but it's just, of course, it's a value thing. It's a collector thing, it's a value thing. Everyone wants to make sure that they get some of it, and no one wants to miss out. The fear of missing out is crazy with this one. And it's funny because when you look at that, like all the focus is on that, it makes that, it makes people forget about everything else that's around it. And we were talking about this in the Whatnot channel the other morning, and it was a really cool thing I thought I'd kind of bring up while I was doing this packaging. When all eyes are on like one thing, nobody sees everything else that's going on, right? So if all eyes are on one thing, like the Magic set, which it is, no one's looking at Tarkir, no one's looking at Aether Drift, no one's looking at Innistrad, things like that. And it doesn't mean that these things are actually like going to the moon or anything, because they're not. In fact, it's kind of just the opposite. As I said, I really thought that Tarkir boxes were going to go to 400. Well, they're at 400. I thought they were going to go up to 500 super quick. Supply was disappearing really fast. And I said the only reason that Tarkir might get a little bit stagnant is if all the money moves to Final Fantasy, which of course it is. And it's not like Tarkir was skyrocketing. It didn't plummet either. But it's definitely moving down a little bit, which I was actually kind of surprised. I figured that like the demand and the opening was so much that it was just going to be gone. I really did. But it turns out that actually people in stores are just really pushing everything they have out the door to try to get some more money, raise some capital for Final Fantasy. I think that's what everyone's doing. And I'm looking right now for Tarkir. Tarkir collector boxes. Low on TCG Player English boxes on low, $370 plus tax. So, probably just shy of 400, but $370 before it was 400 plus tax. And the thing though is the amount that are listed now on TCG Player. So right now on TCG Player, there's 110 listings. Now, like 3 of those are, I think there's some Japanese ones and a couple like Omega listings, whatever it is. But basically you can call it 107 listings on TCG Player for Tarkir. So I think that what it means is like everyone's basically taking their positions in Tarkir. They're pushing them out the door. They're getting a profit because they probably paid way less for it. They probably paid $2.25, $2.50, whatever for the boxes. They're getting their quick flip, getting their capital back and their profit, and they're ready to move on to the next thing with Final Fantasy. And I get it. I mean, if you kind of have to make a choice which one you have, everyone wants to move towards the new thing. And if you can lock in some profits by selling that, I mean, I get it. There's nothing wrong with locking in profits, whether it be small. It's profit. And the same thing kind of goes for, well, okay, so with that being said, I think it's kind of important to always look at the rest of the market and see what else is happening when all eyes are in one place. It's good to look elsewhere to see what else is going on, because you might have some opportunities that are really worth looking into. And a few of them that I saw was actually kind of the most recent sets. And I wasn't going to go like super in depth with them. I just kind of noticed them and I figured it was kind of worth mentioning. But, Tarkir, which I was kind of talking about, and then Aether Drift and Innistrad Remastered. Collector boxes only. I'm just talking about collector boxes here, not anything else, because, especially Aether Drift, they'll be making those play boxes for a few years. And as long as people do like them and the meta changes, people want to open those, but the collector boxes, only one print run, they're going to be gone. And now, like Aether Drift, it was kind of after release, it was kind of like, all right, people had their fill with it, and it kind of went down, and the boxes definitely dripped down pretty quick, actually. Like, I think everyone kind of had their fill and they moved on from it. And that's fine. Like, right now, no one's interested in Aether Drift. But it's kind of one of those things where if you're into, like, collecting like boxes or investing in them or buying and selling, like, it's cool to kind of look at some of those and see what the big opportunities are. Now, I bought a bunch of Aether Drift boxes on pre-release at the higher price because, honestly, I thought it was a cool set and it was great. And I got a bunch left over, and I'm going to have some Aether Drift in stock for a while, and that's fine. But when you look at those prices now, I think it was the low was like 180 is the lowest I saw, and right now I think about 185 for Aether Drift collector boxes. And I remember like the pre-release was so high. I think that some of the collector boxes were like 250, 260, 270. So we're talking like a lot lower than that. And I've got a bunch of boxes I paid, that amount for, which is fine. I can just wait on them and they can sit for a while. It's no big deal. But if I wanted to like lower my average price, I could. Like now's the time to do it. It's like if you bought something at a high, you can kind of buy at the low and bring your average price down a little bit if you want to. And it's one of those things where it's pretty tempting. As much as I want to pre-order a bunch of Final Fantasy and get as much as I can, the reality is that I don't think that on release, all of a sudden, they're all going to be completely gone. It's not like on release day, every box is gone from the world. I think that's like the fear of everything. And of course, I would hate to think that they won't be, then they will be, again, it's that fear of missing out. But I feel like that just because as we approach release day, they will keep going up. That's just the reality of what's going to happen. Any pre-orders between now and the next, 4 weeks from release day, pre-orders will creep up because we're getting closer and closer, more spoilers, more information, and it will go up. That's how it is. The real test, like I said before, is after release day. It doesn't mean just because release day happens, they're all gone from the world and you can never get them again. That's not the case. What's probably going to happen, I think, on release day, regardless of what the price is, honestly, the price for Final Fantasy boxes on release day could be where they are now, about 700. They could go to 800. They could be 1,000. They could be more than that. No one really knows. It's just kind of a guess at this point. But I don't want people to freak out and pay crazy amounts of money after release. I think if you want to get some, the best time to get it is now, and the better time to get it was yesterday. So I think if you're waiting for something, I wouldn't wait. I don't think they're really going to crash after release, and they're not going to run out. I think they're probably going to hold a really decent little price. I'm going to guess. I feel like that $1,000 mark for release day is probably going to be a respectable amount. Probably what it's probably going to be, and I would grab some now, as I was saying, but also don't forget to look at the other opportunities that were out there. I like Tarkir. I like Tarkir a lot. Tarkir is a phenomenal set, and when it was at $400, I thought it was going to go straight to $500, and it didn't. Like I said, the money went to Final Fantasy, it went to other things, and some people sold some boxes, more came to market. Tarkir boxes dropped a little bit, no big deal. It dropped as low as 350, and it's in like a week ago, and it's already back up to what I say is like 370. So it's already creeping back up. So people saw it dropped at 370, they grabbed some 350, they grabbed some, and it's already working their way back up. And I think that's going to happen the same thing for Aether Drift and Innistrad Remastered. Aether Drift I think is going to be a slower one. It's it's a standard set. It's cool. I mean, I do like it even though I'm not in the cars. But I think it's going to slowly work its way up. Remember what happened with, like Streets of New Capennas, and what happened with AFR, for God's sakes, with the whole dragon thing. So many sets, Murders at Karlov Manor, that was one that was like trash, and everyone was fire selling those for $130 a collector box. And like I said this before, but I was probably the only one buying Karlov Manor boxes at that low, because I thought it was a good set still. I wanted to have some. And so that brings me kind of like my third set that I want to talk about, which is Innistrad. And Innistrad I think it's a really cool set, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's got the serialized Edgar Markov. Edgar Markov's a great reprint. Obviously, we knew the price of that card would drop on release, which it did. I mean, everyone knew that. If you had any copies when it was announced, I'm sure people sold them at the high as they possibly could. And if you want a copy, well, now's the best time to get it, because it's about as low as it's been in, 8 years since like the Commander 2017 set. But Innistrad collector boxes right now are at its lowest in a while at like $250 a box, which I think is honestly, it's a steal. It's a really good product. The packs can be volatile. They can be like all over the place. We've opened some collector boxes. It kind of reminds me of like Dominaria Remastered, where you can have some really good packs and bad packs, some great boxes and terrible boxes. And it's one of those where it's like really volatile. But I think there's enough cards in the set that warrant it to be worth more than that, not to mention the serialized Edgar Markov, which I think is absolutely a really cool card. Never pulled one. I'm hoping to at some point. But I think that having these prices is such an opportunity. And it's tough because, well, everyone wants to throw all the money right at... Look at that. That was a beautiful pull today. That was a last pack Magic of the Box. When everyone wants to throw all their money at Final Fantasy, and it's tough to separate it, because trust me, I want to get as much Final Fantasy as I can. But if you're talking about like a financial situation, you have to go. You sometimes have to make the contrarian move. I'm not saying like not buy Final Fantasy, because trust me, I'm going to be buying a bunch of it. But I think I'm going to be grabbing a bunch of Innistrad as well. I got to be honest with you. Of those 3 sets of Tarkir, Aether Drift, and Innistrad, just focusing on those, like, of the 3, I like Tarkir the most, but the price hasn't dropped as much as, say, Innistrad. And I think long-term, Innistrad's going to be a really cool set. That Edgar Markov serialized is a big draw. The problem is it's like the only draw of the set. When you have like a Tarkir set, Tarkir is beyond phenomenal. I think that's such a home run set, and I think people realize that. So when it started dropping a little bit, it wasn't going to drop super far because everyone knew it was a great set, and if people were going to put it on sale for 15% off, they're like, sure, I'll take some more, you know, and locks them up. I've got a good stack of Tarkir. Not a million, but I've got a little stack of Tarkir I'm happy with. I can keep it on my show for a while. I can set some aside if I want to. But this, when they move down to 350 from 400, I mean, you kind of realize, like, that's really like the test for a product, right? Like, is it going to sit down there for a long time? Is it just a quick little drop? Or is it like just an opportunity to buy something and get a good discount to me? And I think that's really what it was when it came to, say, Tarkir, for example. That was your quick one opportunity. And if you got it, great. If you didn't, well, then you kind of missed out on it. And, you know, we saw that happen with Fallout a little bit. We saw it happen with Lord of the Rings. And, you know, then you watch it just go straight back up. And the biggest difference with this set, I think, versus like standard sets and like remastered sets and things like that, this is an IP. And what we've seen before is IPs that are really good. They're really sought after. They're going to be successful. And people are going to want them long term. And that's why long term, it's going to be an absolute home run set. Like, I think even if the set is bad, like even if the set is really bad, I think it's still going to do really good long term. And people realize that. So if you see a drop, or you see a buying opportunity for Final Fantasy or any of these other cool sets, I would jump in and grab them. And it doesn't have to be an IP to be fantastic, but like Tarkir, you see a drop and you see it immediately go back up, that means people want it. That means it's a good set. It's an opportunity. People grabbed it and moved on. When it comes to, say, Innistrad, that's kind of a different animal, because Innistrad, like, it dropped, Aether Drift 2, but really more so Innistrad. Like, it dropped, it kept dropping. People were scooping up some more, but it kept dropping. And, you know, it's a whole falling knife thing and all that, like, catch the falling knife. But either way, you have the product, and when it was before, like, $350 a box, I think the highest Innistrad was, I was paying like $350, $360 for boxes, especially at local stores and some of the online places. And now, I mean, you can get it for, it's like, you know, 30% off. So it's a great deal. And if it's something that you really like and grab some, there's nothing wrong with that, even if it's at a lower price. It doesn't mean the product's bad. It just means that it's just people aren't as interested in it anymore. And that's the best time you can get it, was when people are looking the other way, like I was saying. And the same cards are in it. The same cards are in it when you bought it before it was released. Same cards are in it after release. It's just a different price. So if you like it, there's an opportunity to grab that now. And it doesn't just limit itself to those sets. It's anything else, really. I mean, you can look at vintage cards right now, which no one's really looking at whatsoever. That's been a huge drop for a while. But Final Fantasy is going to be a home run, like we know that. It's not even a question about that. So I would say just take some time, look around at what opportunities are, because what I've learned in just like the 6 or so years I've really gotten back into Magic and been, you know, handling sealed product and selling cards and collecting and things like that, is that you can't really pick what the opportunity is. Like, you have to wait for the opportunity to show itself, and you jump on it. And usually the best opportunity is when everybody else is focusing on one thing, you look elsewhere because no one else is focusing on that. And eventually, in time, Innistrad boxes will run low, Aether Drift boxes will run low. I mean, just look at what happened with Mergers at Carlisle Manor, Streets of New Capenna. Look at AFR, you know, a bunch of other sets. I'm looking at my wall right now to see what else. Duskmourn was great. Dominaria United, even that, like, has been going up like crazy. Brothers War, as I said this before, is pushing $300 a box. It's basically already there. And I mean, the Wilds of Eldraine. Another one, too, that I've been seeing is really moving lately a lot has been Zendikar Rising, believe it or not. Like, that's one I've been doing a lot in my show. And people love opening Zendikar Rising. Like, all these sets, I'm looking at, like, honestly, like, you know, 24 different collector boxes right now. And it's like, so many of them are just wild opportunities. And yes, we want to get Final Fantasy. Yes, it's going to be a home run. Like, even if the set is trash, the name itself is going to sell it. People 5 years down the road are going to play Final Fantasy. They're going to want to relive those cards and the you know, characters from all the old games and new games. We know that, but it doesn't mean you should just dismiss everything else. And I think it's a good opportunity to look around, open your eyes a little bit, and just kind of open your mind to what else there is, because it just doesn't end with Final Fantasy. And it will not end on release either. I really feel like that everyone's like worried about that. Like, you have to get it now, because on release, it'll just be gone. I mean, obviously, a couple things are going to happen. You know, the obvious one of three things going to happen. After release, it's going to skyrocket, it's going to drop, or it's going to stay flat. I mean, it is what, obviously, it's three things that can happen. It depends. It depends on the demand after the fact. It depends what's coming out after it. Because remember, a few months after that, we have the Marvel set coming out. And with the Marvel set, I looked at pre-orders for that are like much below what Final Fantasy is. I think like you can get Marvel collector boxes right now for like $450, so which looks attractive in comparison to Final Fantasy, but compared to other ones, it's obviously like twice as much. But it just goes to show, like, it's not just the set itself, but it's what's happening around the set that matters too. So I don't know, just something I was thinking about. We were talking about in the show the other day. It was something somebody else actually I think brought up, and it made me think about it because this happens all the time with different sets. Like, remember, Aether Drift was hyped like crazy. Everyone loved it. Everyone loved it. Everyone loved it. Then on release, everyone had enough and they forgot about it. And it's the same product it was before, but now it's just cheaper. So if you liked it then, why not get it now for a little bit cheaper? And there's plenty of sets like that right now.